Hello and welcome back. So this will be our last video in this series, and I just want to um, basically go over some of the things that we can improve with this code. So I was actually messing around with this code off camera yesterday, and I realized that we actually made an error in the code. And so out of all of these, cases right here, we satisfied most of them, except this case right here, when it's rock and paper. So rock is 0 and paper is 1. In that case, the code doesn't really work. And I was experimenting with this off camera, so I made another file over here. And in this file, I also set up a way to basically make our code look a little prettier. So what the first thing that we're going to do is, first of all, take care of this rock, paper thing right here. So we'll go over here, and we can just have another if statement right here that basically says, let's see, if we'll make it comp is equal to 1, and the user is equal to 0, well, in that case, the user is rock, comp is 1, paper would win. So uh, basically, we can just copy and paste this code right here and just say, hey, the user or the computer has 1. And then I can copy and paste this again and just switch the numbers so that now computer is 0, user is 1, therefore the user is the winner. So we can copy and paste this message right here, which says, congratulations, basically, you have won. And that would be this segment of code right here, replace that. Now that's good, right? Now, since we got that out of the way, the code works fine. But we want to take this a step extra, right? So what I did over here on this file is I set up two string values, position winner and position loser, and then I set up two ints and winner and loser. And I just set these to arbitrary numbers. I set them to 5. You can set them to whatever you want. But it's best if you don't set it to either 1, 2, or 0. If you set it to 3, that's best, or 5, or whatever. And basically, I said that, okay, in this case, the winner would be the user and the loser would be computer. And so finally, it comes to use when we come down here and we have something like this that says, if the winner is equal to 0, then you can say position W is rock. If winner is 1, paper, winner is 2, scissors, right? And same thing for the losers, because we can have a print statement that here that basically says if it's not a tie, right? If user is not equal to comp, which means it's not a tie, we can say that this is because the winning position always beats against the losing position. And we're trying to have that so that when we run the code, it looks a little cleaner. So let's go ahead and first set up our 4 variables over here. So I'm going to go over here and we have to set them up before the if loops up here. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space and let's start right here. So we have, let's see, string, let's call it win pause is equal to, and I'm just going to have it equal to literally nothing. It's just going to be a set of quotes. You can have a space, it doesn't really matter. And then we have a second string variable, so string lose pause is going to be equal to, again, the same thing. And then we have int winner is equal to, I'm just going to name it, or set it equal to 5. You can set it equal to anything really, but it's best if you don't have it equal to 0, 1, or 2. And then we have int loser is equal to 5 as well, right? And again, they're all gray because we haven't used them. Now I'm going to get rid of this extra space so that you can see, and I'm going to scroll down. So now that we can say you have won, right? In this case, we have winner is equal to user, and we have the loser is equal to comp. Right now, this is the scenario for basically all of the cases where you have won. So we can go down here, we can paste that right there. We can go down right here and paste it right there. Now we can go back up and let's see, okay, if the computer has won, then the winner is equal to computer and loser is equal to the user, right? And go ahead and basically copy and paste that segment of code everywhere here. And again, there is a much cleaner way to do all of this, but that can involve more complex things, and so that's why our code looks so large. Like if you look at it, this is a pretty big amount of code. Now obviously these are commented out pieces, so I can get rid of like this section. I do want to keep my headers, but you can see it's still a lengthy piece of code. It's not horribly big, but it's quite repetitive. And then now that we have all of that, what we need to do is come down here and set up the if statements over here that says basically if winner is equal to 0, position winning is rock, all the way down, and then same thing for losers with position losing. So let's set up our if statements right here. So if winner is equal to 0, pause win, or let's see, win pause is going to be equal to rock. And we basically need to continue that out for all the rest of the two. So if winner is equal to 1, win pause is equal to paper. And then finally we can get if winner is equal to 2, win pause is equal to scissors, right? And then instead of doing the same thing over and over for loser, we can just copy and paste this and then change some values up. So give myself some space and we'll work with loser. So if loser in this case, and then it is, instead of win pause, it will be lose pause. And same thing right here, instead of winner we have loser. And I mean, you can name this anything you want, but again, this makes sense: winner, loser, win pause, and lose pause. And then finally set this up. So now that we have all of that, what we want to do is we want to have this final statement that kind of basically just signifies who had what. So we want to first start off by saying if the user, so we want to make sure that it is not a tie, because if it is a tie, then for example it would say this was because paper always wins against paper, and that doesn't really make sense. So we want to have it so if user is equal to conf, which would mean it's a tie, and then we have that not, the exclamation right there, which says when it's not a tie, print this thing out. And I'm going to write this code right here. So we have if basically user is equal to comp, right? And then we have that, but we don't want that. Instead, we want another set of parentheses around user is equal to comp, and then right in front of it we want to have an exclamation point. Oh. So if you look a little closer, it is right here where it's the exclamation point is inside of the first set of parentheses but outside of the second set. And I'm gonna go over here, and basically we just want to have a print statement that says this is because, and then we want to have so win pause, because we want to say, hey, capital P pause, we want to say this is because, like let's say paper always wins against, and then we have the lose pause, right? And again, that basically says like this is because scissors always win against, paper or whatever, something like that, right? And now that we basically made this code pretty, let's go ahead and run this code and see what the actual output is. I'm gonna run and play a few rounds of this game with you on camera just to make sure that everything works, because if we have any bugs, we have to, take care of them. So I'm gonna go ahead, play paper this time. Okay, you have won. This is because paper always wins against rock. Okay, that's true. That's true. Now here, right now that we're testing it, we can see that it's printing out this 0. All right, we don't really want that. So what we can have is we can have, we can get rid of this right off the bat, or we could show that, oh, the computer has picked this, but instead of showing it, let's just get rid of it just for keeping it clean. So now let's run it again, and I'm gonna bring the output over here, and okay, building. Okay, what would I like? I'm gonna go with scissors. You have one. This is because scissors always wins against paper, so we can see that the computer had picked paper and we had picked scissors. I'm gonna go ahead, run this again, and this is just a simple time, a simple game. You can play with yourself. No one has won. It was a tie. So again, the computer had picked rock as well. So obviously, we can look at this code right here, and it's quite lengthy. I mean, it's quite repetitive as well. We have a lot of if statements that we can, get rid of and shorten and make things just overall much cleaner, and also incorporate more things. Like we can ask the user like, hey, how many times do you want to play this game, right? And they could say, oh, I want to play it 5 times, and you could have like a while loop that loops through the entire code 5 times, right? But this is just a basic version of this game. Later on, we might be able to even come back and apply some more things that we learned, much later on, like arrays and array list and strings and string builder and things like that, that you could apply to a small game like this and make it really stand out and make it much cooler. But for now, this is the last video for our rock, paper, scissors little project. And from our next video, we'll jump back into learning some more things about Java. Thank you for watching.